So what's up everybody, welcome back to another video. This video is going to be a little bit different from the normal videos we usually do, whether that's a vlog or a challenge. We're going to be a little bit deeper today and talk about mental health and how that affects college students. So with that, I have some amazing people here with me that we're going to chat about some things that we all go through when it comes to mental health, and then we're also going to talk about some ways that you personally can cope with it and give you guys some tools and just some friendly faces that you guys can see that'll help you resonate with mental health as being something that not only you go through. So with that being said, I'm going to let them introduce themselves and we'll get started.
I should introduce myself?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something.
No.
Hey guys, my name is Emannuel. I am a fourth year computer science major and I am a big advocate for mental health.
My name is Allie. I am also a senior here and I am a business management major, and also I am a student athlete, so I can bring that perspective in a little bit as well.
We love that. And you're the only woman here, so
I am.
You do have that too.
I am.
You got it. First thing really I'm going to ask you guys is, what are some of the stereotypes that you have kind of experienced yourself, but also that you've noticed that like other people have experienced when it came to like mental health?
I think it's gotten a lot better in recent years as more light has been shed on it, but I think mental health opinions have always been shown as black or white. You either kind of support the aid of counseling and reaching out to other people and sharing your problems and sharing what you struggle with, or you have the other side that's like, okay, you need to be strong enough to understand that these are all temporary. Like I don't know how you don't get that. And I think that like it's either you have people who show empathy for mental health and kind of have their own struggles that they've dealt with, or it's more along the lines of, I feel like more in the older population even is kind of, wow, I never had to deal with that when I was a kid. You know what? We just had to muscle through. So you should just do the same kind of thing. So.
To add on to that, I believe one of the biggest misconceptions I've faced with mental health is the way that people generally see it. Because mental health is a state of health. So like your physical health, if someone mentions physical health, that could either mean that you're in great shape or you're in poor shape. But whenever people mention mental health, people automatically think, oh, anxieties, disorders, and so much negative connotations. But when it comes to mental health, you're thinking, how are you taking care of yourself? People are not thinking, how are you taking care of yourself? How's your state of mind from day to day? They're just thinking, oh, why do you need to go to therapy? They're just thinking of all the negative, of all the aspects of when you have poor mental health, rather than thinking of just it as a spectrum.
Yeah, I feel like there's such a huge connection with like your physical, like you said, with like your mental too, because you can journal, or you can seek therapy and things like that, but at the same time, like eating right is also technically a part of your mental health, and like taking care of yourself and staying fit and wellness and sunshine, getting outside, touching grass. Touching grass. Everyone needs to touch grass for sure. And so I feel like those things are definitely hand in hand, so it's hard for you to like focus on one and not the other. So
yeah, no, I completely agree with the take a lap aspect, because within athletics, I think also it's come to a point where I think some coaches have the ideas and thoughts of, I need to bring mental health up because it is a part of my job, instead of caring for the people who you coach. And I think it has gotten a lot better throughout the years. However, there is definitely still a lot of stigma around mental health and athletics. And I bet everyone watching, I know we've seen just the suicide rates of athletes going up over the past few years. And I think that just being able to have these conversations and to really understand what mental health is, not in its negative, but also just in its day-to-day, and how can you care for yourself and for your mental health every day, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, that's deep. That's good. That's really good. So you personally, what are some personal challenges that you've realized that you face when it comes to like mental health, and you know, I'll give you the ground to like go as deep as you want, or like, you know, at surface level. But yeah.
Challenges. What do you mean by challenges?
I mean, this could be anything, and since we're in college, you know, you can get college-based, like whether that's like how you deal with like, let's say you bombed a test, you know, or like girl cheated on you, or like, you know, Tiger broke. Like for me, I know my big thing is like car stuff, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but like that's like the biggest thing that'll like ruin my day.
Okay, I can go first. I believe one of the biggest challenges that I go through with mental health is that it's too loopy. It's too up and down. Like there's a great day and there's a bad day, then there's a bad day, great day. So like because I feel like human beings are supposed to be. Well, human beings are naturally habitual, and so when you don't have a habit, like when you talk about sleeping, if you don't go to bed at a consistent time, it really wrecks with your body. And so if you keep going to bed different times, you won't be able to get proper sleep. So I feel like also for mental health is when you don't regulate or take care of yourself, it goes up and down and up and down. Overall, you're just in a poor state. So for me, it's like I went through a lot of challenges where I didn't know how to properly take care of myself. And so like you said, a bad test will hit me. Now go down, you know, maybe get some ice cream, go up, and then, but school is just so fast, so then it's like another bad test, and so it's just going up and down and up and down, and I'm only choosing temporary things. Like hanging out with friends is great, but like if I hang out with friends because I did bad, or other parts of my life are suffering, and I'm choosing to procrastinate and go and hang out with friends, it goes up a little bit, but it's so temporary that I'm still stuck in this perpetual down state. So I feel like that's a lot of challenges I felt. It's just not knowing how to take care of myself and escape that loop. Because it's okay to have bad days. It's okay not to be okay. And then when it comes to a point that, you know, you're not okay for a long period of time, now that's when time to start, you know, seeking help, and time to start using your resources, and time to start being aware. But when you hit those good days and one bad day, you know, once you have that pattern and that habit, you can be able to pick yourself up and keep having more good days.
Good stuff. Well, I have it's more or less like just an example in my life, is that I think all of us, if we always close our eyes and just imagine leaving for college in that first semester. That first semester of being away from home, having all of this freedom, whether you're in athletics or not, it is completely a different ballpark that you're in. Because you have so many more temptations, whether it's going out, it's just doing things you shouldn't be doing, or if it's just being away from home and being homesick, and just those kind of things you already walk into with all of these challenges hitting you at once that freshman year. And like for instance, for me, I did not go to Augusta my freshman year, but where I did go, my first year, it was definitely, I grew up in a very sheltered household. Like I was very much like straight and narrow, and right when I got to college, I was like, wow, I have so many options.
Yes.
There's so many things I can do, so many people to meet, and as I'm just a social person, I'm like, I want to go be a part of it all. And while doing that, I realized that getting into all of this social activities, I didn't realize how much of a toll it took on my relationships with my family that I had before college, and my school, and even athletics, because I more or less put priority on the fact of having the college experience rather than just like living my life in a different state, for instance, and at like a different state of mind. And I think that definitely brought me down to a point where I was like very depressed, like because I was at such a high point, and just realizing, oh my gosh, like I'm making so many friends at college, like I'm having such a good time. And then I realized, oh, I'm not passing my classes, I'm losing my relationships with my family, like what's going to happen? And so just from going from that such a high to such a low kind of has made me realize now, 3 years older, that I look back on that and I'm like, wow, how much of a learning period that was. And I think that through the talk of mental health, it's kind of, you always want to get to that point where it's like, I can look back at that experience and look back at that point I was at and realize, wow, look at how I got through that. And I think celebrating the little wins is something that I've had to learn to be able to deal with mental health issues, is because, like you were saying, just the highs and lows happen so often in the 4 years that you're in college. And you have to learn how to kind of celebrate those wins and not be expecting when is that low coming. Because there's so many ebbs and flows of college with mental health. And like when you're at that high, you're sitting there like, wow, I got a good grade on the test. My significant other is coming to visit. Like, I'm so excited. Like, wow, like, love it. And just so excited for everything. And then, like, let's say just studying and stuff and you realize, wow, I have a test next week that I know I'm prepared for, but I'm kind of stressed out about it. What if I don't do well? And then those feelings of anxiety start to come in, and that's when that such high starts to create the trend of the low. And I think really mental health and being able to go into therapy and being able to talk to people is not to deal with that low, even though it's great to use that resource for that. It's also to learn to recognize when that low is starting to come, so you know how to kind of balance it out. So
that is so real.
She is spitting.
For real, I was hiking a spit. That had me thinking, like, you know that feeling, I mean, you may not, but like, I would always experience that feeling of like, Friday night, it's like 10, 11 o'clock. And I'm like out, like I'm downtown, I'm out. I'm like, oh, I'm lit right now, like I'm downtown, I'm lit. And all of a sudden, it's like 11:50, and I'm like, dang, I think I had an assignment due. It's like, do I ignore it?
Like
Or
you're in
like,
the bar and you're like looking at your D2 level. like, we've all been there. We've all been there where we're looking at our assignments and we're like, oh my gosh, like, did I turn everything in? And then you're looking at the people that you're with, like, did you do it? And they're like, yeah. You didn't know. And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I did
it.
it. I did it. That's so funny. And then you're just like,
top 3 worst feeling.
Oh.
But honestly, like, and this is a bad thing I've done, but like, I would take that and I'm like, all right, forget it. Like, I would let the time pass, let the deadline go, take the 0, take the L, and then I'm like, now I have to like recompensate for the fact that I made an L, and now I have to really enjoy myself tonight because I know Monday's gonna suck. But yeah, that's really good though. I love those responses. Do you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think in our human nature, we don't problems. Like to go on, I avoided some challenges as I started to learn more about myself. Was the more I prepared for just in terms of like the day, like I would, if you woke up, for me, I pray, meditate, and just reach a level of peace. And now if you compare that to another day where I just wake up out of bed, lay on the bed, get on my phone, get up, rush to class. When a little minor inconvenience, my phone or my headphones get stuck in the door, or like I missed the bus, like it's almost like there's this anime called Mob Psycho, and the more stress he gets, the levels he goes up. And so I think of myself as that, like the more because once you start a day like that, you start off with like 40% stressed because you started off bad, and then once you missed the bus 50%, you failed an exam 60%, or you remembering the 0 that you took from Friday 70%. So by the time something little happens at 90%, you're like, it's the last straw. You lose it. But I feel like once you start your day off, because I feel like a lot of times we carry our problems from yesterday into the new day. And so once you start off with your level head and you're like, okay, start saying affirmations like, I'm capable of so much, I can do this. You start off around 0. So when things goes up, you already reached a state of mind that, okay, you can redraw yourself, you can say your mantras, you can relax, you can take a breather. And then when things pop off, maybe you just reach 50% at the end of the day and you're chilling. And then I think that's why when you prepare for a day, it goes a long way. Just that little 5 minutes, just taking care of yourself, it goes a long way.
That's real. I think one thing that I've really noticed too is that when it comes to like your mental health, you have to be very intentional with being aware. I think like I always tell people nowadays, like self-awareness is like a top 3 like trait that I feel like everyone should have, because I feel like with that it saves you so much, like, let's be real, like embarrassment, or even just like it saves you so much, like times that you would go through things that you wouldn't have to go through. And so like Wow, I have like a burp in my chest. But I think being intentional is definitely something that you should practice if you don't. For me, what that was I started journaling. And like at first, like I was like, oh, this is dumb. Like, why am I writing it down? Like, I'm also like a tech guy, so I'm like, if I just type it out, it's faster, it's easier. Why am I doing that? But I've learned that although there is a statistic, I can't like quote it word for word, but you do memorize things better when you write it down. I know that is true through personal experience, but also through journaling, I feel like it's more like intimate. So like I feel like I'm being more intimate with myself, and like I'm being more honest with myself because of that, where I can say like, dang, like going back to that example, like I should have been paying attention on Friday and like doing my assignments. And I'm able to come to that like realization of like, dog, like you need to lock in, like you need to like get yourself together. And I think sometimes like that's a really big and a really hard spot for people to get to, because there's so many different ways people take that, where it's like, am I being too hard on myself? Am I being, too easy on myself? And like, I know for a lot of people too, like their family is like a big reason why they are like super hard on themselves, or like why they are like very easy and they just let things go. So I think that that's such a important thing to like, once again, be like super self-aware of why like you choose to take the high road, or why you choose to be lazy, and things about like that. So it kind of helps you navigate through, okay, now I know I'm a little bit easier on myself with, I don't like to yell at myself or punch a wall or something, and maybe just a simple conversation would work too. So I think all of those are good things too. So
yeah, for sure, I agree. And kind of pass the mic. So special. I think that with having intention with everything that you do with yourself is so important, because in volleyball and the sport I play, I always like tell my teammates like 1% better, or find and like make sure there's an intention with something that you're doing, find urgency and things like that. And like you can I say those things to myself too, find urgency instead of procrastinating, have an intention with the words that you're saying. And because I feel like a lot of times when you're talking to people and you're having those casual relationships in college, it's like I'm giving so much of my energy to other people. And I think that is a huge realization to come to. I feel like everyone comes to it like end of sophomore year, beginning of junior year, that you realize that, wow, I am giving so much energy to the people around me.
The timeline you brought up is scary.
Like,
very scary.
it's because I really think that that's kind of what it is, because freshman year, it's so new still. You want to go and do everything. You want to go try everything. You want to go be a part of everything with the school, and even going out and everything is so new. And then sophomore year, you're kind of with that like freshman year friend group, and you're like starting to kind of get into it a little more. And then you get so physically exhausted and mentally exhausted that sophomore year that I wouldn't even necessarily even say they're academics. Like, because I think junior year is hardest in academics, maybe even senior year. I mean, that's what we're in now. So, but I definitely think that socially that sophomore year is the most exhausting. And because you're kind of starting to get into your groove, so you feel like you have more energy to give. And I think the biggest realization that personally I've come to is that I have to give myself 35% of my energy of the day. I think that if I give myself 35% of my energy that I would usually give out to other people or other things, then I have that 35% to use at the end of the day, whether I do want to give that to someone. Like, I want to give it to my significant other, or I want to give it towards my roommates and have a movie night, instead of that one free day that you have off and your social battery is at 0.
That's real.
And like, because I'll be honest, like after a week of games and everything, my team wants to go out and be social, and it's 12:15 at night, and I want to go home, and I realize, I'm the DD, I have to wait for everybody. So like my social battery is at 0, and I have to be blunt with myself and blunt with others that I have, like, this is how much I have to give today, and you have to be okay with that. Because like that's kind of something that we've implemented on our team too, is the percent rule. Is like, let's say for instance someone failed a test today, when they walk into the locker room, they find someone they can feel like they can come to about things, whether that's a senior, whether that's a captain, whether it's a freshman, whoever it may be, and just be like, hey, I'm just letting you know before we walk into this practice, I have about 60% to give today. And if I know that you're giving that 60%, that's all I'm asking for. And I'm not going to be like, wow, what is happening with her today? Like, why is she so slow? Like, where is her head at? Because, and that's even with school too, is that like, you may be working on a group project and you may just not be focused, and you may have a lot of other things on your mind. And people are like, wow, like, Justin, come on, put a little bit of elbow grease in on this group project, man. And it's funny because we're actually in a group project right now that I just did. I'm just kidding. Jokes. You know what? It's okay. You put an input.
I'm going to lock in, though. I'm going to lock in.
Hey, you got this presentation down, though. I believe in you. We're good. We've also been in like 9 classes with each other at this point thus far in college. Literally. But kind of just being able to recognize and be blunt with others about how you're feeling. Because I'm a very private person when it comes to my mental health, where it comes to a point where it's like, wow, I think I should just push through. I think I just need to push through for these other people, because then with people who have an overactive sense of empathy, and I don't know if you guys can relate, I feel like that with so much empathy, I'm like, oh, but what if they're having a rough day? Like, I just need to table mine for now. Like, they deserve my time right now. And I think that's good sometimes, but you got to be able to recognize that, like, there's times when you got to be like, okay, Allie, you may need to go take some time and just read. You need to go touch some grass outside real quick. You may just need to put in your headphones and go on a walk. And I think...
Listening to who?
Ooh, Don Toliver. Come on.
Do you have a favorite song by him, by the way?
Ooh, I used to love, like, last year, right when the album came out in the spring, Leave the Club was the favorite. But now, I really like For Me. That's, like, my favorite one.
Same album.
Yeah, same album. But then also his features with Metro Boomin are really good. Really good.
Did you watch the Spider-Man? Did you see the Spider-Man soundtrack?
Yeah.
Did you listen to it? Mm-hmm. He has, like, 3 on that song, on that soundtrack.
There's Around Me, I think is one. Link Up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Don Toliver is also very good.
You gotta lock in.
You really do.
You gotta put him on.
No, I don't know what they're talking about. Lauryn Hill. I'll put on that Lauryn Hill. So I'm a new man.
Who's Lauryn Hill?
No.
Who's Lauryn Hill?
Are you serious?
I'm dead. I'm so honest.
Lauryn Hill is one of the greatest women rappers of all time.
What is she?
Do you know that song's like how Drake sampled it? I think like 2018. That song's like how can I explain?
Yeah. Okay. I'm there. I'm not uncultured, I promise.
No, we got you. Yeah.
I know. I know the song, but yeah, Don Toliver. You need to listen to it. But
I'll lock in on Don.
Just
Toliver.
kind of like find things that like you need to find. Also, this leads great into our next topic about coping mechanisms too. Being able to kind of find something that like you can kind of latch onto to be that thing that you can lean on consistently.
Yeah.
Whenever you hit that low point and like, okay, my social battery is about to die. What can I do for myself that can help recharge this a little bit? And for me, it's really like sitting in my car, listening to music, like, or maybe walking out to the going out to like the river walk and taking a book with me and just like having time for myself, because the biggest thing that I need, and like I feel like a lot of people don't have enough of, is just being by yourself. Like, that's something that you have to learn to be okay with, and learn to love, is just being by yourself, because it just makes it so much easier to when, I guess, people leave. Like, we all are going to graduate, and like you're not going to have like that support system that you can kind of depend on. And you got to be okay to kind of be able to deal with those mental struggles kind of with yourself, and be able to kind of recognize when you're getting that low point. But yeah, but we can go on to coping mechanisms if you'd like, Justin.
That's not my guy, but Keith.
It's not your guy. Keith is cool. All right. So finishing up real quick, we do have some other topics we want to talk about, and one of the more important ones was we wanted to go over coping mechanisms and not only how we face them, but also kind of giving you guys some tools and advice on how you should or could deal with your coping mechanisms. And so really quick, I'm gonna have like a small little story. So for me, one of the things that I always try to do is I try to like keep things balanced. So if I feel like I'm like drained for one day, like the next day I'll take a break. If I worked out a little too hard at the gym, which is very rare, then the next day I like chill out a little bit. But my big problem, especially in college, is my social life. And I genuinely think, like, especially now that it's been like 4 years, I don't think I have like an end to my social battery. Like, I genuinely think I could just like go to an event, go to work, do this, that. As long as I'm socializing with people, it's hard for me to find times when like my social battery dies, because I almost thrive off of like talking to people. So it's hard for me to like, all right, like cut it off. You've had like 10 conversations, like you're late to class now. So I need to work on that. But overall, honestly, like the whole, like, I don't want to say idea, but I guess like the whole idea of like friendships in college to me has been like super crazy, because came into college like 3 weeks after I graduated high school, by the way. But I graduated and like I did the summer program where I got like extra credit and stuff and did things like that. But I always had like a friend group around me for like the first like 2, maybe 3 years of college, and the friend groups would kind of change, or like they would grow and things like that. But I feel like now I'm at a point where like sadly like things happen, and like a lot of us either like graduated or we just like separated, and like if we're being real, like a lot of them I hate saying cut off, but like sometimes you genuinely need to cut people off. And there were some people like that, and then some people I prayed about it a lot and was like, God, like show me what you want me to do, because I don't want to be in this like middle ground so much. And over time he just slowly started to reveal like what the answers were, and a lot of times they were like to not be associated with certain people because of certain things like that. But my problem is, I don't want to say I'm like forgiving, but like I don't know, I can't explain it. Like I need to move on in a sense, but I always try to like keep the parts that I need to let go of. So the whole thing with friendships is it's a work in progress. I could go on about it, but I'm not going to, of course. But I'm trying now, and I feel really refreshed now, because I feel like I've been allowing myself to be around and talk to and associate with like anybody. So I'm not giving myself like a limited crowd or anything like that. But yeah, I just wanted to share that real quick. But if you guys have any coping mechanisms that you guys have when it comes to mental health, or how you deal with it, or anything like that?
Oh yeah. See, I could go on and on and on, but I can't. So I'll start by listening to some of the coping mechanisms that I have. I write poetry, and I go for walks. Put in my little Lauryn Hill, put in a chill playlist, and there's always one person or one being that I can always go to. That's God. Have those conversations with God. Prayer, meditating God's word. That is a really big coping strategy for me. And to go a little bit more into it, when it comes to writing is powerful. Writing, it sucks sometimes. When we have technology, we could just type it up, but when you get that pen and paper and it's just you there and you're just writing down, it allows me to express a lot of things that normal words or conversations cannot go to. I can use metaphors, I can use similes, I can use I'm a sucker for a good analogy. Man, you piece together a good analogy, I'll be in the back of class. Or in church. But yeah, so I feel like that's why I love poetry so much and writing, because it can really, and it's understandable. You could literally say, you could talk about pain. You could just literally talk about pain, but say it in words, and people are like, I understand that. But once you paint it in a way, in a poetry, and has rhythm to it, people are like, wow, I felt that. So, I love poetry for that reason. And going for walks, man. Sometimes you just need to, I feel like walking, like sometimes I have friends going through problems, or I go through problems, and I'm like, let's go for a walk, let's talk. I think that blood flow and that empty air, not looking at our phones and just feeling and just being aware and present in nature, it just really like does something to the soul. And And then he's like, wow, like I feel like a lot of stuff that I can talk about, and you just have that conversation with yourself or with that person, and God gonna do it all the time, and just there's just something beautiful about just spending that time with God. It goes really well. To talk a lot in college. I mean, like you, my social battery usually never goes down. I mean, sometimes it'll go down, but in college, in life, I've never really struggled to make like friends. I never like conversate. Like it's like it comes natural to me. I take it as a blessing. And so in college, is a new, like now they said there's a new experience. I'm like, man, I want to do everything. I want to join everything, and then it comes to aspects of like meeting people in relationships. Oh, I want to be in a relationship, I want to be in a friendship. I want to be in a romantic relationship. And you just want to experience all that stuff that adulthood has to offer. But then it just becomes so much at one point that you're not equipped I was not equipped. I have so many friends. I would be in so many clubs, and then I'll be out here trying
like
to look
school clubs. He means like academic organizations.
I was organizations. I think at one point I don't want to say suckered or manipulated. I was in 4 Bible clubs. I was like, dang, I was like, dang, I can't say no. So, saying no to others and saying no to myself, I struggle with that. And when it came to relationships, especially romantic relationships, if you're not ready for romantic relationships, that's quite all right. And take it as, I take, like if I were to give advice to somebody, I'm like, it's important to reach the stage when you know that you're ready, because that can be very big and that can play into your mental health. That can play into poor mental health really badly. That comes from like also social media has a big play, validation, and sometimes being in a relationship like validates that, oh, I'm wanted and I'm loved. And then once you play so deep into that, it becomes like a huge rabbit hole, and then it just becomes a lot of problems. So I think, going through these experiences is important, because now I know what to do now. Now I know how to say no to people. Now I know what to do when times gets tough. Now I know whether, if this friendship is right for me or whether I'm ready for a romantic relationship or not. So experience is the best teacher. It'll teach you them coping strategies, and also talking to people. Yeah.
I gotcha. I guess also Justin actually caught me this morning / afternoon during one of my coping mechanisms. Really? He did. But basically, like last night and like this morning, I've been going through it. Like something happened in my life to where I was just not doing too hot last night and this morning. And like the one thing I have to do, like I literally laid in bed till like 11 because we didn't have weights or anything. And I just realized I'm like, I am laying around rotting, and that's just not doing me any good. And so I got up, went to the gym, and I had my big hoodie on, my headphones on, and I knew that we were doing this later today, but I was just not in a great headspace, and I knew that I needed that alone time. So I saw Justin at the gym, and I was like, do I go say hi? And I was like, Allie, no, you gotta go get this in. And so for me, my biggest coping mechanism is just like blaring music and just lifting heavy things. And like we didn't have team weights this morning, but I was like, I need to go lift. Like I need to release endorphins. And medically speaking, even though none of us are in the medical programs here, I'll put out a little fact for you, is that when you work out, it releases endorphins, and endorphins make you happy. And so when you burn like calories, or if you just exhaust yourself a little bit in the gym, and everyone knows, like when you leave the gym, you feel better. Like you just feel better. And it just depends on the day, to be honest with you. Like today, I got in the gym, did not want to be there. But I was like, Allie, you gotta go. So I went, worked out, and one of my teammates who I told what I was going through sent me a playlist called Divorced Dad's Playlist. And it has nothing in relation to what I went through. Okay. And nothing, it's not related to what happened. But, bro, no, let me pull it up, because literally, if you ever are like sad and like need a playlist, this playlist made me laugh. Like, it made me laugh.
Like, the name of this is Divorced Dad Rock. She took it all, but she didn't take my New Balances.
But the New Balances is good, though. You gotta keep the New Balances.
You got it.
You have
Gotta keep the New Balances.
And, like, the songs on it are, like, Nickelback. There's a lot of Nickelback on here. Let's see what else. And it's, like, Good Charlotte. It's, like, Distorted Romance. It's, like, these grunge, but also, like, you can imagine, like, if you close your eyes and, like, when one of your parents was upset about something and, like, didn't want to tell you about it, they would play Nickelback. Or Kid Rock. I remember Kid Rock a lot. Literally, or religious music. I grew up Mormon also, so whenever I heard the Tabernacle Choir come on, you know it got bad. And it was like, in the Mormon church, the Tabernacle Choir is like a very classic choir, very much like almost kind of is parallel to like a Catholic choir, and like that kind of thing. And so when I knew that my like grandparents were mad at me and I was like coming home from a volleyball tournament and they started playing music in the car, which red flag number 1, we're playing music now. And then second off, if it's a Tabernacle Choir, I'm done for. But just kind of going and working out, listening to that good music. And to be honest with you, I feel like whenever I work out or if I go on a run or if I go and exert energy, I'm kind of expelling that negative energy from me. Like I'm literally sweating it out. And it's times when I can't do that. Like, for instance, I feel like everyone's gone through like injury, and like whether that was in high school or whenever, where it's prevented you from doing something that you really enjoy. Something has happened where it prevents you from doing something you really enjoy, and that gets you down all the time. Like, I can remember when it was COVID was the thing that brought me down, and we couldn't, like, didn't have a prom, didn't have a graduation, nothing. And
dang, y'all are the
2020 class.
2020.
We were the 2020 class. We had that Zoom graduation. But like things like that you can kind of look back on and be like, what did I use to cope during then? Well, I mean, there was a lot of spike ball being played in the backyard. There was a lot of family time. One may consider even too much family time. But I think also, even though whenever you're really down, being by yourself is also, it may seem negative in the moment, but it's so beneficial, I think, because it gives you really that time, like, to get off your phone and just, like, go on a walk or just sit in your room, read a book, or just even, like, start journaling. And, like, it kind of gives you that moment to reflect on what exactly you're going through and kind of being, I guess this is kind of type A of me to say, but kind of be objective with it and kind of be like, okay, why am I upset? Okay, this, and this has happened. That's an acceptable thing to be upset about. Like, I understand why I'm upset about that. What can I personally do that's going to make me get out of this funk? Is it hang out around friends? I don't feel like being around people right now, but would it benefit you? Probably. And so with kind of like the thing that I had to deal with this morning, I kind of had to like let one of my roommates know, and she was like, oh yeah, I got you. And so now we're having a movie night later tonight, and we're gonna do movie night snacks and everything like that. And like obviously like this also has been something I've been looking forward to for a while, and kind of being able to share coping mechanisms like this because it's just really cool. It's super sick to be able to go through all this mental health things and kind of take away the stigma from it, because I know that we hear like there's like things come out from the NCAA or from like older people in the university or things like that where they're telling us like, oh, mental health is okay to talk about, and then they're like, yeah, and like you don't really hear from people who go through it.
That is very true.
Like, hey, I'm gonna be honest, I struggle with anxiety and depression daily. Daily. And I think everyone has. And if you haven't, God bless you, because I don't know what's happening, but you have a great life. Wish I was you. No, just kidding. But we all go through it, and I think it kind of makes us be able to kind of like take the heat of some harder things that you got to deal with. And you can kind of look at yourself and be like, wow, I could really take anything on right now because look at what I've gone through. Like, look at what challenges I've faced. This little thing that's coming up, I've dealt with bigger dragons. I've dealt with bigger demons than this one. Like, I know exactly what I need to do. I know how to prepare. I know how to get this done. And if I don't get it done, how is it going to affect my life? Am I going to die? No, I'm not going to. May I be a little bit sad and I may have to work a little bit harder? Yeah. Is everyone in my family safe? Yeah, they're fine. So I just know that, like, there's some things that I need to exert more energy on, and there's some that I can just look at it and just be like, okay, this sucks. It doesn't make it suck any less, but I'm acknowledging that it sucks, and I'm going to move forward. Yeah. And I think you have to kind of just acknowledge the thing that's in front of you, because personally, like, I have a problem asking for help. Like, in the past, like, year, I've been really good about knowing when to ask for help, but a lot of people do not know. They think, oh, I can just handle it myself. And you don't even think that it's a problem with asking for help. You think it's, oh, I can handle this. Like, I got this. Like, this is so minuscule in comparison to what that person next to me is dealing with. I need to be able to deal with this on my own. And being, like, I dealt with that so much my first year here because I'm away from home. It's a brand new environment and
very different from
kind of
where you came from.
Very much so. And it's just a complete change of pace. And I was kind of isolated because I wasn't living in UV. I wasn't living with teammates. I was living by myself, like in an apartment. First year here. And I was just like, wow, this is really not fun. I really did not like it. And I wouldn't really tell my family about it, wouldn't really tell my friends about it, really wouldn't tell my teammates about it either. I just thought that everyone goes through this, I need to go through it. Like, and I got to a point where, like, my sister came to Augusta, and she was like, Allie, you haven't asked for help, but I'm here. Like, I'm making you ask for help, and I'm helping. Like, and I think you gotta really recognize people that will kind of not call you out for your BS, but like kind of call you out and be like, hey, you're not asking for help, but understand I'm here because I recognize that you need help. Yeah. And because those are the people that are gonna make it okay for you to ask for help, and like make it be like, okay, yeah, like personally, I know that I probably need to go talk to someone about how I'm feeling right now. And whether that be a trusted friend, a therapist, love therapy, go therapy, I think it is awesome. I've been a part of therapy for 4 years. I think it is an amazing resource, and because you finally get someone that is completely separate from what you were dealing with. Like, that they are literally, it is their job to listen. And it's not their job to be like, okay, but this is what I would do. Like, okay, I know you're dealing with that, but oh my gosh, did you hear what happened last week? Like, they get paid to literally help you.
Shout out Scaps.
Literally, I just love what they do, and our school has such amazing counseling resources. So if you're a student at AU, please feel free to look up AU counseling and mental health resources.
I'm gonna throw it like right here.
Yep, do the
like
little
right
link.
Our heads. And the entire thing, and then it'll also be in the description.
And for students, it is included in your tuition. It is completely free. You can go in person, you can go on Zoom, you can go over the phone, and they have a great crisis line too, that if you are really in a dire situation where you need help,
They need to hire.
and yeah, I mean, I'm giving the ad, come on, ad read, no.
Application their way, not gonna lie.
And just know, like, they really do help, and they're only there to help. And they also have students who are in the psychology program who actually work with them. So it's a lot of student therapists as well, which will also give you a good person from a student kind of perspective as well. But yeah.
There's this song, I forgot the name of the band. Sincerity is Scary. I don't know if it's an album or a song, but that phrase is real, and I hope I'm using sincerity right, as in like being sincere with yourself and being sincere with others. It's difficult to tell people that, hey, like, I'm going through this, or hey, I need help. So I definitely relate with what Natalie says. We tend to be self-sufficient beings and be like, oh man, I got this. What's that phrase that people always say, that something bad happens and then you're like, it is what it is.
Oh, okay.
You know, we tend to, it is what it is through life, especially through our mental health. Life is going bad. It is what it is. You know, I don't need to talk to somebody. We're just going to thug it out. And I feel like that just causes a spiral. Because, you know, it's scary to be like, hey, Justin, I've been going through this and I just want to talk to you. You just, sometimes it's that feelings of like weakness and insecurity and, oh, what would Justin think about me? Oh, I'm sure Justin thinks I'm such a great man that God. And sometimes we even play when we compliment each other, like, man, you seem to have life also to get all figured out. We take away people's ability to be like, no, I don't. You know, because then now you're like, dang, I don't want to let them down. I'm an inspiration to them. How would it feel to come to them and be like, I don't have life figured out? But I feel like that's the conversations and things we have to be saying to others, like what your sister did. I believe your sister did was great. Like tell people, like, hey, you know, you have not reached out for help. I just want to let you know that I'm here. And, you know, just that positive, hey, you may not have everything figured together, but I hope you do. And if you need someone to talk to, I'm here. And so it can make it easier for people, you know, because it's hard. It's hard to be sincere. It's scary. Yeah.
That's good. That's really good. You brought up a great point about always being there for people and, you know, not necessarily being there for yourself. And I had it on my calendar, but I wanted to almost do like another video, like something like this, but kind of just like a one-on-one, like me by myself, just like talking about like how I feel right now. Because honestly, like in all seriousness, I've been very like frustrated internally lately. And that comes from like having these supernatural, superhuman like goals for myself before I graduate in December. And then just like, I gotta achieve this, X, Y, Z before I leave. And then also just like thinking of like, cause I don't know, I'm very, I don't want to say deep, there's probably a better way to say it, but like I think about everything. And like, I think about like, even though it's still September, like when I graduate, like who are the people that like when we get older and we always hear our parents and friends say like the people that they met in college and became like their best man at their wedding, who became like their aunties and uncles to their kids and things like that. So like I feel like kind of going back to what I was saying with like the whole thing with friendships, like I'm very big on people because I feel, I don't know, like I've always had like a natural like love for people, honestly. Like I love being around people. I love, you know, being able to like pour into people and to like help people. But and sure, I guess I do to myself in a certain way where I love to take care of myself. Like I know skincare and things like that, but it always comes after I'm taking care of someone else first. And it was actually this summer, I was on a plane and I don't ever listen to like, I don't know if you guys do, I don't ever really listen to whenever they're like, the flight attendants are going over like the rules of safety and the guidelines and things like that. Cause you kind of get, it's like common sense.
Yeah. And it's also like if the plane's going down, I'm not going to remember this.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, if this is God's time, it's God's time. Like, hey, I'm gonna be with Moses in a little bit. So, but no, like I never like listened to it, and I was just like whatever. Like, I was also going like to Japan, so it was like a 14-hour flight, so I had no choice but to suck it up. But I listened, and there's one part where they say that when it comes down to like the life vest and the inflations, that you have to help yourself, even if you have a child, and that's hard for a mother to hear, right? But you have to help yourself before you help them. And when you sit there and you really think about it, like it could be a burning fire. If I don't make sure like I'm not gonna die, like I can't help you if I'm gonna be limping out the building, because then we're both gonna be gone. So you genuinely really have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself too. And so I think that's such a big thing to come to the realization of, but it's hard sometimes. Like it's not easy to think that like you have to make sure that you're okay without someone else, because sometimes it feels selfish, in all honesty. Like it feels like you're putting yourself first. And I think that's a thing, and I guess you could even say a stigma that happens with mental health, that it's like you think about putting yourself first. You think about like, I know I do this a lot, I think about like things like this as being sometimes selfish, or like to be honest with you, I'm very insecure about like being a content creator, in all honesty, because I feel like what has happened, and that's kind of what I wanted to get into, is like I've been frustrated where I feel like I would want to like naturally meet someone for like the first time and just like have a genuine friendship with them, and because someone else may have had a prior conversation about me, however that person chooses to, you know, describe me, is the pre-notion that they have in my head. So sometimes I want to try to naturally like obviously care about what they say, but I want to try to like fix their mindset. And I have to learn sometimes like, no, I can't do that. So that's just something that I'm trying to get over and to just say like, whatever. Like if that's, you know, if at the end of the day, if someone wants to, you know, have a prior mindset about me or things like that, then it's hard, but I have to let it go. Because I never want to come off as like, I hate when people, and I'll say this now, I hate when people call me like a celebrity or like Hollywood, like things like that, which I get it. I do get it. Because like I can admit like, and it's through God, of course, but like I've done some cool things in life, but I never, ever, ever want people to think that I do that in like a flex or like I do it and it's like yeah, I'm him. And we all like joke around and like do the I'm Himothy, him Jones, and like stomp someone out on my Timberland boots. But like at the end of the day though, like I try to be very like aware and just like humble about it, and just like it really comes from God. Like I it's not like a joke, it's not like an Instagram thing. Like I genuinely feel like my coping thing has been like you said, E-Man, like I go to God about it. And even what you said, Ali, like I play worship music all the time. So like I'm probably gonna throw like one of my favorite artists like in the description, but this one guy named Sunday makes, okay, so you know where I'm going. He makes some of the best, like I'd say this like alternative, like kind of R&B, like slow to rap, not rap, music. He is a Christian, but I think that through his music and like his message delivery and like even what he's saying, it can be like applicable, wow, college for like anybody. So I'm gonna make sure I throw him in there. But yeah, those are some of the big stigmas that I think we all face. One big thing I do want to mention, and I'm saying this as a content creator, social media can kill you if you let it. You have to be able to set aside time, whether that's physically getting on your app and making like a timer, or just like putting your phone down in the morning. And like what I've done now, at the beginning of this year, I don't get on my phone when I wake up, because I would always like, I'm like literally as soon as I wake up, it's like, how many likes did I get on Instagram? Like, let me go and check it. And it's so unhealthy. So I'm trying to like not do that, and I'm trying to have like a natural morning, because what I've realized through like doing the things that you guys were saying is that I've learned to just be present. And I can't do that when I'm looking down at my phone the whole time on campus, and like when I'm in class and I'm reading emails and doing this, that, and the third. And so I want to make sure like I'm starting my day off without social media. I think someone said you should do like an hour. Mm-hmm. That's kind of tough, but an hour. Yeah.
I do 30 minutes.
That's solid.
I think 30 minutes is really perfect, because I feel like everyone's like more like, we'd love to say, oh yeah, we have a full hour morning routine. No, we don't wake up an hour before our first class.
Absolutely not.
But like for instance, I always wake up before, like if I'm morning weights, I'll wake up like 45 minutes before I need to be at the gym, so I can kind of eat my breakfast, drink my coffee, whatever I need to do, and I do not get on my phone. I don't get on my phone.
That's crazy.
But yeah, it's really well.
That is real. I'm gonna give it like 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. He's coming around the corner, but shout out to the roommate Tim. He's probably like taking off his shoes or something right now. But yeah, those are really good things, and I think that you can come through. You want to say hi? Shout out Tim. How you doing? I'm good. Good. But yeah, those are really good things, and I think whether that's something small like just not being on your phone, or that's something big like cutting someone off, or like, I think another thing too, what you brought up with your sister Ali is really good, but I think there's so much too that like we can really learn from that too. Is like, I know with me sometimes I underestimate like how many people in my life like genuinely care about me. And I know that that's a really big thing that people do with mental health, is that like when it comes to like specifically depression, it makes you feel like you're alone. It makes you feel like whatever you're dealing with is like only your problem. You have to go through it yourself, or like you're done. So I think that the fact that like your sister did that is so beautiful, honestly, because it's one thing for her to be able to do that, but it's another for you to like take the initiative and open up and allow her to do that. So
I feel like
to accept and like to really fully believe is if they wanted to, they would. Like, and that's with everything in life with other people. Like, if they wanted to be at an award thing that you have that's really important to you that you told them about in advance, they'd come. If you told them far enough in advance, obviously, and it wasn't like the day of. Like, gotta cut some people some slack, but like, God, it's just always, like, with my sister and everything, like, we are polar opposites, and she's my twin sister, and polar opposites, let me tell you, and, like, the way that we have, like, gone to college, and we are completely different people now, but I also know that, like, if crap hits the fan, she'll be here, like, she'll be here all the time, and I even have some teammates like that I know that, if something really happened, like, let's say God forbid, I get put in a hospital or something, I know that they would be sleeping in the hospital room on the floor. Yeah. Like, and there's not a lot of times where you can create relationships nowadays to where it'll be like that. Because, again, like, a lot of people kind of they'll support from afar. I think that really agrees with, like, social media, too, because you'll see people repost, like, mental health things on their Instagram stories and stuff, and then when you meet them in person, you're like, you just laugh when someone says if you need to take a mental health day, please feel free. Like, basically, in kind of conclusion, like, if they wanted to, they would. And whenever you start relationships, whether that's friendships or things like that, you kind of have to have, like, mental health conversations early is really beneficial. I've come to the conclusion is that whenever you talk about mental health early in a relationship, whether that's with a significant other or friendship or a parent or whenever, it'll oftentimes show if that person is someone that you feel like you should be around. Because, like, I know personally, like, I've had ex-boyfriends that have been like, mental health is a joke. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to keep that.
Red flag. It's
giving red flag for sure. And then I've had significant others that have been like, I completely think that therapy is a great resource, and just understand that if you need anyone or need someone to talk to, I'm always here. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's a good answer. That is a good answer. But I guess, I don't know, it was impressive. But basically, I think that throughout kind of your college career, we've talked a lot about ebbs and flows, and I think with all the coping mechanisms that we talked about, it's you have to figure them out for yourself almost. Because I think you can take inspiration from what we all have said, but I think that everyone's coping mechanism has something tied to a happy place. Like, whether that's from your childhood or from wherever, and just something that, like, it may be painting for you, it may be reading, it may be working out for some of us like me, or it may be just talking to someone that you have a really close relationship with. And I think you kind of just have to test them all out. And, like, kind of learn about your surroundings and learn about the people around you. And if you have someone that you can talk to like that, perfect, boom, try it out, let's see if it works. And if you kind of have maybe a resource, like if you have like a weekly rec league that you play in, and that's like your weekly thing that you go to, that it's like your reset, and it's like, okay, I get to look forward to this. That can be your thing that you can kind of help yourself have a mental reset. I know mine is FCA with the university. If you don't know, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, not just for athletes, it's for everybody. And super fun. We always have food and everything, and we always have games. Like, what do we play? We played hide and go seek around Christenberry, like around all of the complexes, and it was at night. We had flashlights. It was manhunt, basically. It was so fun. But also, it's a weekly thing. So it helps you kind of reset, and everything always has, like, a meaning and something that you can take with you. Like, for instance, like last week, it was about, about leaning on God when things get tough, and whether it's our practices that are getting tough or there's things that we learn that we don't have control over, and you kind of just have to let go and let God. And I think that is just also a great coping mechanism too. Is something that I use all the time. Is that it is my favorite hobby to worry about things I can't control. It is my favorite hobby. like favorite hobby, top of the list, is worrying about things I cannot control. And like this whole thing today was kind of like that. It was something I had personally no control over. And I kind of had to take a deep breath and then like talk to my grandma about it. And basically in the conclusion of the conversation, it was just take a deep breath out, let go, and let God. And I'm like, wow, how many times have I told myself that in the past 4 years in college? Is just let go and let God. Because it, again, has something to do with religion and whether that's something that you have a relationship with or not. It's kind of more or less having that come to Jesus moment with yourself and being realistic and just be like, okay, is this something that I personally have an effect on? Me, my personal opinion. If no, then why am I expelling energy on it? And it hurts sometimes to come to that realization. Like, for instance, if you're having a friendship that's not working out, and friend breakups are almost always worse than relationship breakups. It hurts so much worse. And when it's a friendship breakup, you have no control over what that other person is thinking, feeling. And when you're getting to the point where it's a friendship breakup, it's kind of where you kind of just have to be like, I have to give you the space, and we'll talk about it later. And giving that person space and room to grow, and kind of let them be their own person away from you. Because I feel like in high school, a lot of our relationships are kind of like when you get buddy-buddy with someone in high school, you are like that. You are locked in for the rest of your time there. And that is something in college that I found is different. And because we live on campus, obviously, but we all like are in the same environment. But I feel like we've kind of learned how to work our friendships a little differently. And you kind of work them to fit your own needs, which almost is like a little bit selfish, but also like you're not going to have someone in your life that affects you negatively. And like it's going to be kind of a waste of your energy if you have these people around you that aren't going to benefit your mental health and aren't going to help you with kind of coping through things that you get thrown at in life and around your 4 times in college and even post. So yeah, it's my 2 cents. But it's probably more like 6 or 7 cents, to be honest with you.
Well, we got inflation nowadays. So.
I know, it's basically worth the same. But.
Yeah, I think that was all really, really good. And if you're watching this, I do want to say, I'm not going to press you into doing so, but if there is something that you could share that you use personally to deal with mental health, whether that's like an activity or like a certain person on campus you may talk to, or just anything like that, please share it, because I know what you may think is like, it's no big deal, no one's going to read it. You never know. And you never know, the strength of your impact and how the smallest things can really like affect people. And even with mental health too, just like I say all the time, is just practice, if it's hard for you, which I hope it isn't, being a good person. Whether that is opening the door for someone, it takes 4 seconds to hold the door. Whether that's that, or I do this a lot. I'm a really bad person when it comes to like having conversations. In the beginning, I feel like I have like conversational anxiety, where like I have the same template of like, hey, how are you doing? Good. How are you? Good. Yada, yada, yada. And it's like, we're not actually getting into anything. Which I will say, I hate those conversations, because it's like, what are we actually talking about? Like, whole time we both just cried, and like, you want to fight your teacher. I'm like mad at my homeboy. Like, what are we really talking about? But just so many little ways, like of little things can matter so much in someone's life. And I've realized in so many different aspects of life, it's always the little things. Like, it's never, well, I'm not going to say never. It's not always, you being a DD driver for someone and like getting them gas money, doing something very extravagant. It's always, or it can also be something as simple as like, if you're in the line at the JSAC and someone ran out of food and you have $400 in your account, like giving someone $3, I mean, I know financially it might be a little different for everybody, but it's just small things like that. You know, you never really know how much that affects people. And then it's always beautiful to see how something you did that was small affects someone else and then makes them want to turn around and affect someone else. Like you see all the times that people do like the pay it forwards and like the drive-throughs and things like that too. So I just wanted to leave with that. Like it's always beautiful to give back to people, but it's so much more impactful when you can see that it's working and that it affects people and to the point where they're wanting to do that too. So with that being said, do you guys have any last remarks that you guys wanted to add? Any tips, advice, anything you guys wanted to leave with real quick?
It's gonna take time. When you start practicing good ways to take care of yourself, it's gonna take time. Not going to the gym, you won't be big and buff and lean and strong the very next day. It's gonna take time. It's gonna take consistency, and I think you really start to see just how well your life is getting better the more you're consistently taking care of yourself. And so it's going to take time. And to bounce off what Natalie said about how Justin said she's a D1 and worrying about things that she can't control. I resonate heavy with that. There's a Bible verse, but I'm not going to misquote it. Talking about how, just to be all right, to have the courage to be able to face the things that we can control, and just to have the ability to recognize the things that we can't control, because it's so easy to think, oh man, like this aspect I can do it, and then we just, it's like the song by Christina Perry, I can do it, but I'm only. We gotta realize that you're human. I'm only human. I was gonna sing off tune, so I didn't want to try. I can do it.
Is that Jar of Hearts by Christina Perry?
I think so. But you gotta realize sometimes you're only human, and a lot of things are out of your control, and you just have to know how to take care of yourself when you encounter those things that are out of your control.
Nice. I'll do a little finishing touch. Sorry guys, my foot is numb. I was trying that entire time to get feeling back in it. Now I can't put my slipper back on. All right. I'm like, she's dead. But anyways, I think that just understand that whatever you're going through, someone has been through. And it kind of brings you back down to earth a little bit, because things can seem so big and your feelings feel huge. And I think just understanding that someone has been in your shoes and someone has gotten through what you've gotten through or you are going through currently. And also understand that what I love to say is that any situation you're going through right now, imagine how good of a person it's going to make you once you get through it. Like, whether it is just some character development, and whether it's something that you just are forced to do and it's like, I don't want to do this, but I feel like I have to. What lessons are you going to learn from it? And kind of, if you're kind of miserable doing something and you're going through the trenches, think about yourself in about a year. And think about, how am I going to look back on this? Am I going to look back on this and realize that I'm going to give my kids some great advice? Or am I going to think about it and tell myself that, wow, I probably shouldn't have put myself in that position? Or maybe I was being a little bit hard on myself, or things like that. And that kind of gives you a little bit of perspective. But just always just take a second to take a breath and let go, let God. Cut yourself some slack, you deserve it. And realize whatever you're going through is character development. Whether it's good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, or whatever you're going through, it's going to make you the person that you're meant to be. So.
That's good.
Snaps.
Snaps. I don't think I have anything specific, but I feel really passionate about this, so I'm not going to go off on a tangent. But I know nowadays there's like this big, I don't want to say push, but like there's this there's this thing that like I feel like everybody nowadays, and I know COVID has definitely like contributed to it, where everyone's like a popular loner or just a loner in general. And I feel like it's like I see like these TikToks and like reels all the time, and it's almost like a flex to be this like, I don't depend on nobody. I don't, you know, I live on my own. I do things on my own. This high dependency on yourself and super low on everyone else. And this, in college terms of like being in a room all day and like, I don't like people, so I don't go outside and I don't do this and the third. It is very hard to do life by yourself. And that is not even from a mental health standpoint, but just life in general. And so I just wanted to say that it's okay, of course, if you want to be introverted. I'm not going to, you know, argue someone to come onto the extroverted side, but don't think you have to do life alone, because it's always, or at least in my experience, the times where I did something that I didn't want to do, or I put myself around a group of people that I didn't know, or I just let myself come out of my room and things like that, that allowed me to be in the position for God to work in my life. Because if I just sat back and this is my life, this is my path, this is how I want to be, and God, you come in and, you know, you move around the pieces that I don't want to move, and you just, you know, tweak and work around, you know, my life instead of letting it be the opposite, it's just so much harder for you to just come to that like feeling of everything. So yeah, I'm not going to go off on that, but I'll just leave you with that. Once again, we are going to leave all of our resources in the description. So whether that's through the university, that's just up top, anything personal that we have in there, we'll make sure we throw those in there too. Any artist besides Sunday podcast. I did find this one podcast. It's a Godly Men's podcast that I listen to. It's very, very good. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll do that. I wonder if they have one for women. That'd be pretty nice too. There probably is. I feel like women do podcasts a lot more than men, but
I think it's even.
Really?
I think it depends on the category, to be honest.
No, you're definitely right.
Come on, man.
Some that shouldn't be. Dinner with Jay-Z, or you're 45, sir. What are we doing this for? But
you know how I feel about women. That's how it starts off.
It's always something like that, bro. And it's always like the most passive aggressive like way of saying like, what do you really want to say? Like, what do you mean by that?
But the one thing I'll say is try to have this conversation with maybe your group of friends, and I think that it's super duper healthy and super awesome to be able to have those types of conversations about what you deal with, what you struggle with, your coping mechanisms, different resources that you've used before that maybe someone else in your group of friends could use. And I think that having these, what may seem like an uncomfortable conversation in theory, is going to only be like very beneficial and bring you closer. So.
That's good. Well, with all that being said, hopefully we're around like an hour, and you watched the whole thing. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. This was the first time the three of us have ever like I guess we're a group, but like as a group, this is the first time the three of us have actually been together, and Ali and Emmanuel just met. So you don't need to, you know, isolate yourself in that box. You do have people that care about you, and all it takes is a simple conversation to start that. So if anyone hasn't told you, we love you, we care about you, and if you see any of us on campus, the three of us could say someone could, you know, come up to us, talk to us, anything like that? Okay.
Yeah, I don't bite.
Nice.
Come up. I'll always, if there's some random girl that's walking through Somerville campus and like smiles and waves, it's probably me. So,
Yeah.
So just understand that like I'm not scary. So yeah, and just feel free to come up and say hi. And I feel like I'm everywhere at this point. So
Yeah.
just, if you see me, say hi.
Sounds good. So with that being said, we thank you guys so much for watching this video. This is the current sub count. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys subscribe. We'll probably be doing more things like this in the future. And you guys will probably see these clips everywhere. So if you want, I'll put their Instagrams at the bottom here. So you guys will see them at the bottom. And along with that, I'll throw mine in there so you guys can see these same videos kind of all over, you know, reels and all that, things like that. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys.